Titans fans, hello. Welcome back to the Two Tone Crew. This is the final podcast of 2017. We're the official podcast of TitansReport.com. I should say it's our final podcast. I'm sure there could be other podcasts released between now and the end of 2017. But for us, this will be it for the year. And it's probably going to be a short one because kind of in a holding pattern here. I mean, Jamal, welcome back. Scotty's here with me as well. And guys, I mean, it all comes down to this. We've talked for week after week about what needed to happen and the type of position the Titans were in. And now they have really kind of not totally blown it yet, but they've blown a comfortable lead they had for a playoff spot. And here we are looking at week 17. And of course, everybody knows by now they're facing a win and in scenario. The Jags will be the opponent. They have nothing to play for, having already locked up the division. And I believe they're seeding as well. So number 3 seed. So, yeah, I mean, Jamal, you weren't on last week, so I'll toss it to you first. It's honestly, we were talking right before we went on. I mean, it could go either way. I have no idea. And make no mistake, I mean, this will shape the story of the offseason, how this game goes down.
Absolutely, yeah. You're either going to have the first playoff game in about a decade, or you're going to have the biggest collapse since who knows what. I mean, I don't know that we've ever had a collapse like this because we've only been in this sort of position so many times. You'd have to go back to the Oilers days, my guess is, and maybe Scotty can tell us what kind of collapses they used to have. But yeah, no, I feel like there's a sour taste in everyone's mouth that will only get wiped out with a get in the playoffs and somehow get a win. Otherwise, it's going to be a sour taste from this season. But making the playoffs, you don't get that often. And so if we do that, you have to consider it to a certain extent. It's a successful year, despite the sour taste and some of the context you don't like. So, yeah, story waiting to be written.
Yeah. Any historical context, Scotty, for the Oilers days?
Well, I mean, even the Titan days, you don't have to go back too far. I think it was 2010, they started 5-2 and finished 6-10. Obviously, they weren't as close to making the playoffs, but after they started 5-2, everyone thought they were, a really good team, and they finished 6-10 that year. But as far as being that close to the playoffs, I remember the Reds, not the Titans or the Oilers, but I can think of a few teams that started 8-2 and finished 8-8. The Redskins one year, and I think the Chiefs were the other team. Maybe I can't remember the other team, but 8-2 and then finishing 8-8, even worse. But I mean, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Weren't they like 96% when they were 8-4 to make the playoffs or something?
Oh yeah, it was way up there. Yeah, the odds.
Yeah,
and now I mean, seeing kind of how everything shook out, it really only needed one more win. Well, maybe you'd say an AFC win, given how the weird tiebreakers are.
They possibly don't even need another win.
Well, that's
the crazy thing. Yeah,
that's my second preferred outcome. Both my top two are obviously making the playoffs. One, I'd like to make the playoffs, beating the Jags, and then play the Jags in the playoffs and knock them out, beating them 3 times in the same year. That is number one for me. Number two is go 0-4 to end the season and make the playoffs anyway. That would just crack me up. That would encapsulate the season so well.
I've got one for you there. The great Tim Tebow season with Denver, they were 8-4. He lost the last 4 games. They got in the playoffs at 8-8, and they won a playoff game.
And won a game, yeah.
They beat LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau.
Scary.
Yeah, they lost their last 4 games and finished 8-8 and still made the playoffs because everything happened just like what would need to happen for the Titans.
Well, God loves Tim Tebow.
I mean, that's where the Saturday Night Live skit came from. It was literally like God was making everything happen for them to make the playoffs. Most people don't remember that they lost their last 4 games, really.
And with the Titans scenario, I mean, you wouldn't say it's probable, but it's really not all that crazy. I mean,
Right.
the Chargers would have to lose to the Raiders, who haven't been great this year. Chargers are at home; they're still fighting for a chance at a playoff spot.
Mhm.
But then the other one is the Bills at the Dolphins. I mean, the Bills, they're kind of like the Titans. I mean, you never know what they're going to do. So, I mean, it's not entirely impossible that happens. But I don't know if you guys, I was going to bring up, I don't know if you all have had a chance to really reflect and compare this to last year. But I was thinking about that earlier this week. It's kind of crazy how last year we just had that furious comeback right there at the end, where we beat Kansas City, we beat Denver. Before that, they beat Green Bay. And as fans, I mean, you were feeling really good. They were peaking at the right time. Everything was going so well, and, they even had some kind of rough games offensively against those better defenses, but you still felt pretty good because they came through when it mattered. And then you had the Jags game, which is when everything last year really collapsed. Of course, Mariota broke his leg, just had a terrible day overall in that game. And that's when all our hopes were kind of destroyed. I think there were some weird scenarios where they still could have gotten in, but that was pretty much it, and we all knew it. Now this year, sort of the exact opposite. We've been kind of we've never looked as good as we did last year. Yet they were in a better position early on, and instead of peaking at the right time, now they've been going the opposite direction. So it'll be interesting to see if this year they flip the script against the Jags, and despite their sort of downward spiral here, if they are actually able to turn it around. Because, I mean, like you said, yeah, there's a lot of talk out there right now about. I get the feeling that there are a lot of fans who would rather lose this game and replace the coaching staff, which I just can't. I just can't get behind that at all. I mean, given how long it has been, you never know what's going to happen. And
right.
I think both Jamal and I, who aren't the biggest Malarkey fans, would say, I mean, fans have no idea what's absolutely the best for this team. You don't know what's going to happen from year to year. So absolutely the best scenario for the Titans is, I think, to make the playoffs and hopefully to make something happen. Because like you said, I mean, they'd be most likely playing the Jags, a team that they can clearly play against. We'll see how they do this week, but given earlier in the year, we know they can play with them. So it's entirely possible.
We match up well. We match up well where, I mean, they're a running offense and we stop the run. And I actually think, I mean, last week, the Rams are a really good team.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
we had a pretty decent game. I mean, we didn't score touchdowns as an offense, which killed us. But that's not a game anyone really expected us to be competitive. I kind of went against the grain on TitansReport.com and just said, this lines up as a bit of a trap game for the Rams. But there was no way I would have predicted us to win, and yet there we were.
And I mean, they got off on a really rough start too. They had the interception. Was that his first pass?
Yeah,
I think it was the first pass.
Play, I think, yeah.
Just an awful interception right away, and they still compete. I mean, after that, they played a good game overall. I think I even made the comment that had we beaten just one of the 49ers or the Cardinals, then we're feeling much better right now. I'm just saying, hey, we competed with the Rams. They played pretty well at times. They gave up big plays. What he's done all year, up and down. And at the end, they had a chance to win and just didn't do it. I mean, the Rams are a really good team. They're 11-4 division champs for a reason. But given the downward spiral we're on, it just totally reshapes how most people look at that game. But yeah, Scotty, what did you think about the Rams game overall? Because, I mean, Gurley ran all over them, and the offense they changed some things, but the results were kind of what they've been all year.
Well, for stretches, they looked competitive against one of the better teams in the league. So had they won that game, which they easily could have done, I think we're talking completely different. By the way, the Jaguars, over the last couple of weeks, they lost to the Cardinals. They lost to the 49ers. I mean, I don't even think they're all that much better as a team than the Titans are. Their defense is way better, but they're beatable.
And if the Titans had found a way to come back against LA, then we're talking about a division title this week. How crazy is that? I mean, this league, man, it's insane how things can, the narrative can change so easily. But Jamal, I mean, what do you think about all these fans who seem to be hoping for a loss and coaching replacements? Because
they're probably the same fans
are actually worried about this as an organization. Have you seen all the tweets and stuff and Facebook posts?
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're worried about people showing up.
They're probably the same fans who were getting into the face of media on Twitter when we were 8-4. You know, it's people who just have no ability to be rational. It's just whatever the most recent game is, they're panicking. I mean, if you were at 8-4 thinking we were awesome and you had to jump on social media to jump all over a bunch of media people, and then like a week later, which is what happened, I could name names for Twitter and I'm not going to, but it's what happened. Those same people the very next week were saying fire Mularkey. I mean, to a certain extent, this is why, and I know Amy Adams Strunk has done a number of things that have pleased fans since she took over, but you cannot run an organization at the whim of fans. You just can't.
Right.
And those are the fans that I would say don't run the organization to appease them. Run the organization, as I always say, give a coach 3 years, so I don't want Mularkey fired. But let's say we get to the end of next year and I want him fired. I still want Amy Adams Strunk and the other executives to go through, think it through, actually analyze it, and make a decision.
Right.
They can't be looking at my Twitter account and saying, okay, I guess we better fire him. Screw that.
I saw 3 weeks ago the Bill Barnwell podcast. They had a guy on there that follows Twitter and all social media and stuff. And this was about 3 weeks ago. The unhappiest fan base with their coaching staff was the Titans. And this this was 2 or 3 losses back. I mean, before they lost 2 or 3 losses. I think if they make the playoffs, that will subside somewhat and people will be I think if they won one playoff game and then lost, they'd still want to fire Mularkey. I think if they made the AFC Championship game and lost, they'd still want to fire. I'm serious about that. I'm serious about that.
Because it would be, we just fluked into it. I mean, look at this play and that play. We got lucky.
It even happened after last year. A lot of the same people, you know. I just think Mularkey is perception-wise is so flawed that he would never be completely accepted. You know, barring some 2 Super Bowls in a row or something like that.
He gets less benefit of the doubt than any other coach in the NFL. Part of that's the hiring method, and part of it's that he's failed 2 times before. But yeah, he can't win.
He almost said it a couple weeks ago. Remember when he was talking and he said, "Well, I can't say. I better not say anything or whatever." At one point, which he shouldn't have said anything, he slipped in there that no matter what I do. And then he kind of stopped. I think that's
something about the media. Yeah.
No matter what I do, I mean, I think that's what he meant. I mean, no matter what, I just don't think that as an overall group, you know, he will not be the coach that people want, that the fan base wants. No matter what, it doesn't matter.
Well, since we're on the topic, you kind of touched on it, Scotty, but we didn't quite answer this question. Is he coaching for his job this week? Is this because if you read the national media, it kind of sounds like that's what they're saying. They haven't outright stated this is for his job, but a lot of stuff, I don't know if you guys saw in Albert Breer and other places, it's like if the Titans win, they're making the playoffs. If not, they could be facing a coaching change. It's like, wait. So is this it? I mean, is his job on the line this week?
I don't think so. In fact, overall, you know, these 14 or 15 vacancies, every couple years this happens, and it's nowhere near what everyone's predicting. I bet not only is Mularkey not going to get fired, I don't think a lot of these changes will even happen.
I saw something today, a rumor going around that Pete Carroll might be a surprise departure, either retiring himself or even getting fired.
I saw
because that locker room is blowing up, and it's like, man, if he loses his job,
I seen where the
Yeah.
Bengals could actually trade for Hugh Jackson.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Hey, I love Hugh Jackson, and I will make excuses for him all day. And I don't think he's great, and I don't think you should trade for him. But I'll make excuses for him all day.
Did
Who's going to trade for Hugh Jackson? There's no way.
the Bengals?
Where did you
Oh,
see
it'd
that?
be so
rumor?
funny.
That can't be real.
You saw it too, John?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
No way.
Yes. Did
Rumors of it. I mean, not like a confirmed, report, but
remember he came from Cincinnati as offensive coordinator. They
Yeah.
loved him. I mean, that's where he
right.
Did you see where he told McCown he needed to retire and basically he couldn't play anymore?
Yeah, be a coach or something.
Then he went to the Jets and just had an awesome year, and they had Kaiser have one of the worst seasons ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's coaching for his job or not. We'll
Have
have
you
plenty
guys-
of time to evaluate the body of work after this game, but it's certainly going to be a weird offseason if they lose this game. I mean, I think if they win, it's easy to sell it and even sell an extension and all that.
Well,
And going through it in my mind, the pros and cons, sort of what he's done well, what he hasn't done well. And I mean, there's a really good case to be made on both sides. There's a lot of just bad circumstances that he's faced this year from sort of out of his control. I mean, from the very beginning, but yeah, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that, seeing this outcome.
What would honestly change if they made it and even won a playoff game? What would really change? I mean, would that really change whether or not he should keep his job or not? In the grand scheme of things,
That's the thing. Why would this game
Right.
actually matter?
if you really don't believe that he's got the wrong scheme, he's not good. Why would one or two games make a difference? It really shouldn't.
Yeah.
It will in terms of the tone of fans, I think, but
And
it'll just be right behind the veil, waiting to come right back out the first time we lose.
And John, you were saying, what will the offseason be like if they lose? I think it'll be about the same as if they make the playoffs.
Mm.
I don't think it would change anything. Well, they had an easy
very
schedule, whatever. I don't think anything would change if they made the playoffs as far as the perception.
Yeah, I just feel like Amy would face much less, and like Jamal was just saying, she shouldn't bow to the pressure of outside anyway. But I feel like the pressure would be way more on her if they lose this game, especially given the context of the Buffalo situation, how Malarkey was in a very similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
They failed when it mattered. Last year, we were in not quite the same situation, but pretty close. They failed when it mattered. And so if he does it a third time, then that's hard to sell. But given the context of this team, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Malarkey said today or a couple days ago, he's like, he basically made the comment of, obviously I'll feel much better if something to the effect of if we win this game, that he'd feel much better about things. So I mean, either way, it'd be an interesting offseason.
Yeah. I'll save my full predictions for after next week, but I've shared them on Twitter. I've shared them on Titans Report. I think he's safe ultimately, and I have reasons for it, but I'd just be surprised. Here's the thing, though. Fans that are rooting for us to lose are rooting for the Jags to win. I just don't even understand how you can do that. I don't know if I'm just like small-minded. I've bought into the whole thing, but like I can't ever root for a division opponent unless they're playing Tom Brady. But like even in the playoffs,
or unless it directly affects the Titans' circumstances,
right? Like, yeah.
In
the playoffs, I don't want the Jags to win. I don't want them to go on.
Right.
I never wanted Houston to go on.
Well,
Peyton Manning was a little different, but
you're going to be in luck then.
Yeah, could be.
Because if we win, if we beat the Jags, I think the only way we wouldn't play them is if Baltimore loses to, they're playing somebody
Miami.
they should win. Well, the Baltimore's playing the Bengals, so I mean
the Bengals.
You never know.
So Baltimore has 6 losses, 7 losses. How many losses?
They're 9-6.
They're 9-6. I saw something today, and it just kind of made me laugh because A lot of Titans fans, myself included, would say we've had an easy schedule. That's the only reason why we're in the situation we're in. Baltimore, for teams that are currently making the playoffs after 16 weeks, Baltimore is 0-5.
Oh my gosh.
They're 9-1 against non-playoff teams. And the simple fact of the matter is, and it goes sort of the same for Dick LeBeau's defense, but every team does well against bad teams and good against good teams, and that's how you end up being decent enough to be the back teams backing the playoffs. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Scotty?
I can't remember.
Oh, sounded like you were about to jump in there. Yeah.
It was after 0-5 for Baltimore against playoff teams.
Oh, I was going to say that when we played the Ravens, they were definitely one of those bad teams that the Titans beat.
Mm-hmm.
Flacco looked like he needed to be cut. He was seriously that bad.
Worse than Mariota?
So seeding right now.
Okay. Hey, yes, he was. That's how bad he was.
Yeah, so the seeding right now, the Titans are currently 6th seed at 8-7. Baltimore's 5th seed at 9-6. Like we said, the Jags are locked into that 3 seed. So if the Titans win and Baltimore wins, the seeding will remain exactly as is, and the Titans will go to Jacksonville for wildcard weekend. However, if Baltimore was to lose to the Bengals, which who did they beat last week? They beat those at the Lions. The Lions were fighting for a playoff spot and just
Colts.
They were actually up in that game, and then the Bengals just came back and annihilated them.
Oh, I thought you meant the Ravens. You meant
no, yeah, the Bengals. So I mean, I don't know that we can count them out. They always, it's a division team. Of course, they're going to be trying to play well. Well,
they played the Steelers neck and neck 2 weeks ago and really should have won the game.
That's right. Yep. So yeah, I mean you can't rule that out. If that happened, then the Titans would be going to Kansas City for the first playoff game. I'd much rather play the Jags. I think everybody nationally would probably say. Yeah.
You want to play the Ravens?
I'm rooting for the Ravens to beat the Bengals.
Yeah. So I'd rather play Jacksonville. Even though beating them 3 times, that would be hard, but we've done it before. You guys remember earlier in the year, somebody posted all those eerie similarities to the Super Bowl year. It was kind of crazy how many connections there were.
Well, I don't think there's many left.
No, beating the Jags 3 times would be one of them.
Yeah,
I think nice. that would be possible though.
Because I made the joke in the thread. I said maybe we'll lose to the Rams in the regular season this time and beat them in the Super Bowl. So we got the loss down. There you go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. What were you about to say, Jamal?
Who knows? I think I was going to say I would just love the Jags have been so bad for so long, and they finally come back up, and I would love it for our franchise to be the one to smack them down.
Oh, yeah. It'd be so great. I mean, beating them in the playoffs, I would say that's better than being division champs any day of the week.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The playoffs is what you're playing for.
Yep.
I think the Jaguars are easily – I mean, it's not that they're easily – they're just not that – they're at risk in every game they play. Mm-hmm. Just the way they're built and Bortles and everything. They're just built to easily – barely beat or lose to anyone.
Do you think they're actually going to play their players? Because Marrone
that's where I was going. Yeah.
He's saying that they're going to come in and play. And, he's obviously coaches are always doing this, but he's saying, the Titans were the most physical team we played. And I just don't buy it. Why?
I think they might start them, which they probably will, but I think guys like Calais Campbell and Ramsey are going to come out pretty fast. If they even play, there's a good chance they're inactive. You
think so? You think they would keep them inactive?
Why in the world would you put those guys out there at risk?
Oh, I'm with you. I just feel like he's that old school mentality of, Tom Coughlin's there. Remember a few years ago when I'm pretty sure they had nothing to play for against New England and just went all out, nearly won.
Yep.
And then came back and won the Super Bowl against New England that very year.
Mm-hmm. I also remember when New England did the same thing and lost Wes Welker for the playoffs.
Yeah. I agree with you. I definitely wouldn't do it. I just feel like he's that old school mentality of he's going to play. And some of the comments he's been making sort of sounds like he's a little ticked off at the way the Titans handled them early in the year. But
they also got
even
handled
then,
last week against the 49ers. The 49ers lit their defense up. That was the first game all season where a quarterback had 100 passer rating against them.
Oh, wow. Man, what kind of contract do you think he's going to get?
How much different does having an elite quarterback make? I mean, the 49ers were terrible.
No, well, they lost like their first 5 games or something by less than 3 points each.
They were
With that said, they're a lot better than that now.
They were 1-10. They were 1-10 or whatever their record was when he took over, and now they're 4-0 or whatever.
Well, it helps when you play the AFC South.
That's for sure. The schedule for next year came out. It doesn't look great right now, given the potential playoff teams this year, but a lot of time between now and then. I don't have anything else. You guys?
Yeah, I was going to say this. Judging by the comments and the practice and stuff, I don't think there's any way DeMarco Murray's playing.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that
up. That was
my
only question I was going to have. If he plays, come on.
He's not playing. You could tell by the way they were talking about Henry. And I'll tell you what I'm interested in seeing, though. What's going to be very telling is how they play Fluellen.
Mm-hmm.
If he I'm serious. If
you mean for Henry, I think you're right.
Yeah, it'll tell what they think about Henry.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play in a lot of the the passing downs and some of the sets where they do play action, and it's going to tell that they have no trust in him at all as a
as a fullback. Yep.
An all-around running back,
complete back. Yeah.
So I almost hope Murray doesn't play. I mean, besides the obvious, it's just so we can. Hey, and honestly, I kind of want to see what Fluellen does. I mean, nothing to lose. The other 2 guys haven't done it. Maybe he'll provide a spark.
I want to say it's whoever joined in on 3HL after Clay Travis left. That's the one Clay Travis left, right? You guys listen to Radio Nashville?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. 104.
Yeah, so one of the guys who's a radio personality there all preseason and early in the season was all about Fluellen. He is a Fluellen hype guy. So it'll be interesting to see, because I always wondered, why? Maybe we'll find out that he was right all along.
Hey, maybe we'll finally see Adoree up back there again. What happened to that?
What happened? They played him on that last play.
Well, you're talking about when he actually got a handoff, right?
Yeah, when they would sprinkle in a couple times a game.
That whole offense from earlier in the year where they were doing so many options and everything else with a mobile Mariota, it pretty much flipped when he hurt his hamstring.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because he still has scrambled and looked okay on some long scrambles, but it's got to be affecting him some, or they're afraid of him re-injuring it or something.
Right. They just don't want to take the risk or something.
You guys think they continue with the no huddle, speeded up offense like they tried last week?
They'll be doing more of it.
Well, they've done it for like 3 weeks, and I would add this too, that honestly, they talked about this in the offseason when they got Davis and Decker and everything. This was, at least it's what they said their plan was, to play a lot more through. And honestly, until about 3 weeks ago, they didn't have all 3 receivers to do this. So until recently, they really didn't have the receivers to do it. So
I was wondering. So you think it's more of this was the plan all along, rather than Mularkey throwing his hands up in desperation, like, okay, we got to do something after scoring 7 points.
Yeah, they talked about it in the offseason. I mean, what did they do? They signed Decker, they drafted Davis with the 5th pick, and they drafted Taylor. So
made no effort to replace a blocking tight end.
Yeah, I definitely, and remember Davis missed a lot of time, and then until recently, Matthews missed 1 or 2 games, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So until about the Cardinals game, they couldn't do this. So yeah, I think it was the plan.
Well, if we're looking for positives, Corey Davis last week finally starting to look like the guy we thought when we got him. So one good sign. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say this week, guys. We're a little late this week. So hope you all had a great holiday and looking forward to hopefully a happy new year for Titans fans. New Year's Eve will be the game. I think I'm actually going to go out and brave the weather, guys. I think I'm going to go support the team.
There you go. Say hi to all other 3 fans in the stands.
I really am curious to see how it's going to be, given the sentiment around what seems like a pretty negative sentiment, fan sentiment, combined with 28-degree high or 27-degree high, combined with New Year's Eve. That's definitely a recipe for some poor attendance. But
well, I know there's at least one member on TitansReport.com who is unable to attend the game because of the shift later into the day as well. So, and that's related to New
he's
Year's
the guy
Eve
who's
parties.
there every week.
Yeah.
You mean because they changed the start time of the game? You mean?
Yeah, and he's got a New Year's Eve party, and he
Right.
lives an hour and a half away, and he drives in. Like, he's one of the fans that they should be cultivating, and he kind of getting screwed with the time shift. So, John,
And that's outside of their control, Titans control.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And they always do that too.
Yeah,
It gives an unfair advantage if someone, if you see how the outcome comes at noon.
No, I agree with that. It's a rational, reasonable thing for them to do. It just sucks for fans. And if others have New Year's Eve parties, that's a potential issue. So
it's also like the third 3:00 game in a row, isn't it? Third or fourth.
Well, last week they went back to 1 for the Rams, but yeah, the 49ers and the Cardinals game before that, they were late games.
Oh yeah, the Rams game it's noon.
Yeah, moved it back to the regular. But yeah, I got my hot hands ready. Got a nice several layers ready to go.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, indeed.
You gonna wrap yourself in curtains to stay warm?
Gray curtains with white flower patterns. Inside joke for a few listeners out there.
1 or 2.
Like, yeah, 2 people maybe get that one. Yeah, so it'll be fun. We'll see how things are next week when we reconvene here. Regardless of what happens, we'll definitely be back for one more episode at least to kind of wrap things up and hopefully preview a playoff game. But all that is going to be determined by this next week. But 2 scenarios where we talked about earlier where the Titans get in the playoffs. Man, it would be hilarious if it's 8-8 and they get in. Would really be hilarious,
especially if the Jags play their backups.
Oh my gosh, dude! Yeah, it really would.
I might actually convert over to the people saying, "Who cares if they make the playoffs?"
At that point, yeah, indeed. All right, well, this has been episode 153 of the Two Tone Crew. Thank you all so much for your support. You can find us online at TitansReport.com. We have a Twitter account. It's just at Titans Report. There's also a Facebook group, facebook.com/Titans Report. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, pretty much any podcast service. Rate and review us on iTunes. And Jamal, Scotty. Jamal, your internet. It held up. We didn't even comment on it.
Did it?
Welcome back.
I assumed the fact that you were responding to the words I was actually saying meant that it was working. Yes. It drilled a couple of holes in different places in my house and routed that internet right onto a computer. So it seems like it's
sacrifices we make for this show to keep it going. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.